So we should be able to have any franchisee that we bring on be able to make $1 million a year and help with their financial freedom and financial education as well.
If you're investing, investors will.
The podcast for all things real estate investing.
So welcome back to another episode of Investor One-on-One. Today's guest is a real estate investor, team builder, and systems architect who's quietly dominating Florida's wholesale market with precision and scale. Over the past 3 years, he's closed and assigned over 250 deals, averaging about 120 assignments per year, and recently began expanding into ground-up development with 3 new construction projects underway. He's the founder of 2 high-performing companies, EzyRes, a wholesale and dispo powerhouse, and Compound Acquisitions, a firm focused on collaborative deal making and JV partnerships. He's on a mission to help others level up through better systems, better leadership, and better execution. So please welcome to the show, John Galan.
Hey man, thanks for having me, and I appreciate that intro. It's really, really nice.
For sure, man. It's so good to have you on, and I'm looking forward to today's conversation. So let's start off, with your story. What originally got you into real estate, wholesaling, and how did your 2 companies come to life?
Yeah, so I was originally a CPA, and I knew I always wanted to do something different in my life. So I started looking at like the high net worth individuals tax returns I was doing, and I started finding like a common theme was that they were all in real estate, making all this money, not paying too much taxes. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go down the real estate route, and I want to start looking to that. So I did what most people do is I just consumed a bunch of information and I took zero action. And about 3 years later, I just was like, all right. I remember I was playing the Nintendo Switch and I saw a game that I used to play all the time. And I saw how many hours I logged into that. And it was like, if I played this game for 7 days in a row without stopping, like I basically had 7 days of my life built in this game. And I was like, what am I doing to myself? Like, I'm going down the wrong path. So then I just decided, all right, I'm going to start taking action. I had joined like this challenge thing to watch people like make calls and make offers. And I discovered wholesaling. I had zero intention to wholesale, but I don't know, something just like was pulling me into the direction of wholesaling. And I wound up joining mentorship to learn. And, basically from there, I just didn't look back. I got my first deal done after 4 months while juggling busy season in my own tax, return business. And I was like, all right, I made more in the one deal than I did for my bonus I would make as a CPA. So screw this. And I just quit my job after my first deal, started building my team, and haven't looked back from there.
That's an amazing story, man. Let's talk about and start off with deal sourcing. Today, what marketing channels are you using to bring your deals?
Yeah, so I started off going because the mentorship I joined was all about direct to agent. So I started off calling agents myself. And then from just building a brand and constantly being vocal in all the communities I've joined, I also do a whole lot of JV deals where we will sell other wholesalers in Florida's deals, whether they're going direct to seller, direct to agent.
Mhm. And let's say you get a lead, through an agent or an off-market deal. How do you evaluate whether a lead is better suited for wholesaling, flipping, or new construction like you're starting to do now?
Yeah, so basically everything for us, because I have zero interest in flipping. So everything for us, we underwrite as a wholesale deal. In the beginning, everything was wholesaled. Now that we have built up a team, me and my business partner Helena, we now look at other opportunities. We knew we wanted to naturally progress into getting into developing like single families, developing multifamily, townhomes, all that stuff. So now, if we find the deal, like my business partner takes care of most of the new construction side of things. So from her picking the brains of different developers that we've sold deals to, she knows now how to analyze it. So we've gotten into 3 projects. One was brought to us by a developer themselves. The other 2, we actually had one we got from an agent, and I mean we got it really cheap, and we knew it's an up and coming area. So we tore the house down and we're building to rent, and we're gonna keep that for at least 5 years. And the other one we actually got from the MLS, and we were able to get it in Reddington Beach at a deep enough discount, and it's right next to the water, where it's a potential $1 million net profit once everything's said and done. And so we decided to take that one down ourselves. But she's the one who's able to spot these opportunities from the connections we made with our buyers from wholesaling, and able to underwrite it correctly. And then we put some of our assignment fee into it and connected with builders to work with and show us the ropes.
For sure. So you're based in New York. Your partner is based in Florida.
Yeah, she's in St. Petersburg.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about, your team and you guys are building the team now. So you average around 120 assignments a year. What systems or team structure made that volume possible, especially because you guys are both, kind of
Yeah.
remote?
So I would say the first year I only did 16 deals when I was by myself, and I slowly started building a team with a different partner. The year after that is where we did over 100 deals, and then the next year we did I think a little over 120 deals. So and on this year we're on track to be doing a little bit more than the 120. Hopefully, could get to the 150 mark. So it's been like consistently getting better and better. But right now I have a team of 13 people and I have three people doing acquisitions where they're calling the agents. I have one JV associate where he filters through the wholesalers and talks with them, negotiates with them. I have now three dispo reps. I had one before, but we just hired two more recently. I have a couple of admin VAs, and I have a full-time underwriter who underwrites all the deals for us, and he's also acts as our integrator. Um, but we're bringing on an actual full-time, underwriter who used to be an appraiser, so that should help us with some of our deal flow. And that's basically the team, I would say.
Amazing. Talking about acquisitions, how do you train your acquisition reps to consistently close deals without hand holding?
Yeah, so I mean, what I recommend too to people is like when you're doing the process yourself, like once you start getting consistency, start documenting it. What are the things you're saying? What are like the priorities you set? Like what do you focus your day? How do you time block it? And how do you handle certain objections? So from there, I basically was able to create sheets, like cheat sheets, where I have all of the objections I've ever encountered and the ones that my from through hiring and through firing, the ones that my reps constantly ask me. Same thing with random scenarios that happen and how to handle them. And then I broke it down into a framework. Like when I pay attention to how we talk to agents, like I was like, all right, there's only really like seven or eight conversations you're always going to have. So let me break those down into a checklist. And then when you're talking about days on market and stuff, here's a cheat sheet on how to frame your offers based on how long it's been listed and how many views it's had. So from creating internal tools like that and then focusing on one conversation at a time, like we bring them on, we give them the systems training so they understand it, and then I role play with them basically for the next 3 weeks. They start calling after week two, but for the next 3 weeks, I role play focusing on one conversation at a time and handling like one or two objections at a time so that they slowly start building up their foundation. And after about 60 days, they're pretty much good to go. And they only ask me questions infrequently. And it's usually about like, can I come up higher than this? Can we pay these closing costs? Random things like that, that where the act manager would have to come in and actually answer.
That's an amazing strategy. And you spoke a little bit about tools. What are some SOPs or automations you recommend to wholesalers that are starting off right now with 1 to 2 deals a month?
I would say for automations, I mean, in your CRM, it's going to depend on like the strategy you do and how your CRM set up. So I would recommend like if you're not tech savvy, either connecting with somebody that is and brainstorming. Like if you're better on the phones than somebody that's more tech savvy and but they have built a crazy system, you guys could swap ideas together. Like, hey, this is how I would do my outreach, and then can you help me with my system? So I would definitely get a dialed in CRM process as far as SOPs, whatever you're doing right now and whatever you're doing, like I would say, anytime you do something more than once, I would document it. Because you never know when you're going to hire the next person. And if you keep doing the same process and you have it documented, when you bring somebody on, it's going to be easier to onboard them, easier to train them, and you have your basically like your blueprint of your business all documented, recorded. So now your onboarding process and your training process can be more streamlined, and it could help you delegate and actually start working on bigger parts of the business.
For sure, that's
So
some great
basically,
advice.
document everything.
Now, following up on that, I know we spoke a little bit about Florida the other day, and a lot of people have their opinion on Florida as a market to invest in. In your opinion, what makes the Florida market different from other regions when it comes to finding and closing deals?
I would say, I mean, the legislation, like it's easier to deal with squatters in Florida. It's very, landlord friendly over here in Florida. The thing that sucks is the hurricanes and the flood insurance and things like that. But it's a very investor friendly market, and it's been appreciating a lot over the past few years, also with rental rents as well. So it's also a destination area. You could have a lot of short terms. You got Disney World, you got, Busch Gardens, you got Sea World, all the fun stuff that people love to do with their kids and everything. And, the areas are just beautiful. Tampa's up and coming. They've reinvested, billions of dollars into revamping Tampa. So it's got a lot of good attractions, which I think is great. But as far as what I think makes it different, I mean, because of the amount of activity, like people would call it a competitive market or a saturated market if you're new, right? But it's just so many people you can collaborate with, right? There's a lot of new construction going on. There's a lot of midterm, short-term, and long-term rentals. There's a lot of mobile homes and the mobile home parks. So you basically have a little bit of everything going on. You have multifamily, a little bit of everything going on in Florida. So there's a lot of brains you could pick, a lot of people you collaborate with. And for me, when I dispo, there's a lot of wholesalers I could work with and sell their deals and make money with. So I just like the collaboration as far as Florida is concerned.
And how are factors like, I know you spoke a little bit about hurricanes, but how are factors like insurance rates, permitting delays, or zoning shifts affecting your strategy, or it doesn't really affect you?
I would say for wholesaling, like it more so affects the end buyer, but the end buyer is my customer. So like if
Mhm.
they're impacted, then I'm impacted as well. So I have to adapt and shift. So like if people are more conservative during hurricane season, or they're staying away from flood zones, or they're buying in flood zones, but they got to be super discounted, I have to adjust my underwriting as a result. So maybe I have to be more conservative on the resale value because their flips are sitting longer, right? Or maybe I have to underwrite at a deeper discount because their flood insurance is going to cost more, or their rehab is going up because of maybe with the tariff situation or all of the mass deportations, right? So like I have to be aware of how it's affecting my end buyer, whether it's the flipper, the developer, the buy and hold buyer, whatever's impacting them impacts me because it impacts their numbers. So I have to go ahead and adapt my numbers as well. It doesn't really change as far as like I'm gonna start making less offers. That doesn't change. My only thing that changes is my underwriting strategy and how I get deals under contract or which deals I will send and at what margin.
I see. And to kind of conclude the Florida part, what areas in Florida are you most excited about in the next year or two for investors that want to get into Florida?
I mean, I've been big on Pensacola. I like Pensacola. I feel like it's a slept on market. Jacksonville is also just another great market, I would say. I do know that I think in June, as of June, I listened to a podcast. It's one of the top five markets that has like declining prices. So what I think that means is like there's probably a lot of sellers and not as many buyers. So in order to sell their deals, they given like more discounts. So it's a buyer's market in Jacksonville. Um, I would say also like I like Orlando and the surrounding areas. Anywhere inland Florida is better because it's not as impacted as heavy as the coastal parts of Florida from like hurricanes and the raising like flood insurance rates. So inland Florida is always good as well. Gainesville is another good market. Ocala, um, yeah, basically I would say like inland Florida, I'm liking a lot.
Yeah, those are some great markets. Now, let's say someone that's watching this, they're like, damn, John got me, wanting to invest in Florida. Maybe we could do a JV deal, a partnership. How do you structure JV partnerships to ensure that, investors and you also have a win-win situation?
Yeah, so usually most of the time when people send us deals, there's a couple of things. The first one is if they're newer and they need help, and they're like kind of close on a deal and they need a buy price, like they could submit the deal, the address and everything, and what they think the after repair value is. We'll analyze it ourselves and we'll give them our underwriting feedback and where they should lock it up at. And usually for that, so we prioritize those over the other ones. If they are able to get on the contract, we just ask for like a 72-hour exclusive option. And if we can't sell it within that 3 days, they could blast it out to whoever they want. So we could help with buy prices. The other thing is most wholesalers, they're just cool to JV 50/50. So it's mutual because once we assign the deal, my TC then goes ahead and takes over the conversations with title and everything. We draft all the paperwork, send it to sign. Any of the issues that come up at title, basically my team is solving those issues. So we're handling the transaction once we assign it and basically making sure we do whatever we could do to get it closed because we have all these resources. So we make sure that any problem that happens, we solve it and get that done and make it easier for the wholesaler too because they don't have to do any paperwork or anything like that. And if they want, they could even have my TC talk to the agent or talk to the seller if they want her to handle all sides of the transaction. And then for other people that, let's say they spend a lot of marketing and they can't 50/50, they basically just tell me, hey, can you net me this price? If I can net that price and it's not been blasted all over like Investor Lift and social media and where everybody sees that one price, if you say, can you net me 240? And I think I could sell it at 250, sure, I'll net you 240. I don't care if you make 150,000. But if I can net you a price where I could still make my minimum, then that's works for me too.
Yeah, that's very fair. Now let's talk about, you've been growing both EzyRes and Compound. What's your long-term vision for both?
Yeah.
To build, to hold, something else? Like what direction are you guys going to?
So now Compound is more of like my holding company that just it's my S corp that I will hold partnerships in different LLCs in right now. So we have the EzyRes, which is the wholesaling franchise, and uh, yet to be named our development company, which we do plan on getting into, developing, doing buy and holds, build to hold and build to sell. So we want to get into developing multifamily and townhomes and all that stuff, but learning the ropes, that's on the back burner until we get wholesaling fully delegated. And we plan to build a national franchise. So we're perfecting the blueprint in one market. Once Florida is fully operational, self-sustaining without me or my business partner having to be involved in the day-to-day, we'll move into the next market. And then we just perfect the blueprint in about 5 different markets. And then once we have that, we know we have a good franchise blueprint, and then we go ahead and franchise it out. And we want any franchisee we have to be able to make minimum $1 million a year, which they should be possible because by the time our blueprint is done, each market should be doing 500K a month. So we should be able to have any franchisee that we bring on be able to make $1 million a year and help with their financial freedom and financial education as well.
Love the vision, man. And I see, you're really good at what you do and very experienced. If you had to start from scratch today with just $10,000 and your current knowledge, but nothing else, no connections, nothing, what would your game plan be?
For wholesaling,
Yeah.
so what I would do for that is I would basically have I would figure out the CRM. I'd get my CRM because I don't really like using my phone. I like having everything in one place, conversations, tasks, all that stuff. It just helped me stay organized. So I would take maybe $300 a month for that, and I would use that towards the CRM. I'd take the remaining money I have, and I would invest in myself, whether I go get a mentor or join a mastermind or something like that. But I would invest in myself because you can't take away skills and knowledge, right? So I would invest in my skills and my knowledge. So I would join the places I need to join to get those connections I need to get. But I would also be calling, honestly, I wind up calling real estate agents. That's where I started. I go back, it's free. I could just call agents on the MLS. I could just call agents, get a list of agents from realtor.com. So I would wind up calling them, build that up, get some more capital. And once that free marketing is making it, I would then probably wind up hiring somebody because I personally I don't have the patience for a direct to seller. But if you do, then I would start, use some of that 10,000 to pull some lists, get good at cold calling, and then start going to the inbound route. But let's say I build it up the MLS side, then I would go ahead, find somebody that's really good at closing deals that has the experience of closing sellers, and then I would just start doing some inbound marketing.
For sure. And talking about skills, in your opinion, what's the most underrated skill in real estate investing that no one really talks about?
I mean, yeah, because you said underrated. So everybody talks about sales and negotiations, right? And marketing and all that stuff. I would say the most underrated skill in anything is to the ability to stay consistent and maintain a positive like mindset when circumstances don't give you any reason to stay consistent or have a positive mindset. And what I mean like is if you're not having consistency or getting deals done yet, but you're still grinding every day, you're still focusing, you're being intentional with your actions, and you're genuinely happy and excited while you're doing it, like that is the most underrated skill that I think everybody needs to develop if you want to remain successful, because it's not the conditions that are basically dictating how you're feeling, you're dictating that, and your conditions will change as a result.
And to inspire some new investors, do you have a story of the first wholesale deal you did and, everything behind that?
Yeah, so I mean the first deal I did was I was doing trying to JV. So in the beginning I was confused. I was shiny object syndrome. I was trying to do everything. Um and I was like a nationwide wholesaler. And the reason why I
Mhm.
use quotations is because if you first start and you're nationwide, basically means you're not doing any deals. So I was reaching out for 4 months and I had no traction, no nothing. And I knew somebody in one of the communities I joined. I knew somebody that she sent me a deal in California. I said, hey, I don't know anybody in California, but is it okay if I, market your deal to other wholesalers, see if they could help me sell it? She said, go ahead. These are the people I've sent it to already, so don't send it to them. So I said, all right, sent it to some of those people. And I was able to find the buyer, get it sold, and I was able to make $4,995 in my first wholesale deal.
That's awesome, man. And to follow up on our last kind of question, I know you spoke a little bit what's next for your businesses, but what's next for you on a personal level and growth?
Um, I would say next for me is I'm just going to continue to work on my, leadership skills and being a good sales leader for my team, so I could keep pouring into my people and building a really solid team full of A players that are able to just get things done, solve their problems themselves without bringing things up. Like I want people that are proactive, that are solution oriented and could problem solve, right? And I want to help them have a really good thought process about that in each of their roles. So it's just reinvesting into my people so I could start building the, large wholesaling company that I have envisioned.
For sure. John, thank you so much for sharing your insights, value, and experiences with us today. It's been a pleasure having you on Investor One-on-One. If our investors want to connect with you or learn more about you, how can they find you?
Yeah, they could go to my Instagram. It's my full name, John, John Galan, Galanrei. And if they want to, if you're working in Florida and you want to connect to my team, send an email to deals, DEALS, at EzyRes, EZYRES.com.
For sure. And to everyone watching and listening, thanks for tuning in. Stay connected for more interviews with the nation's top investors. Thank you.
Thank you.